Hey everyone, I'm HauntedTrees, and today I'm going to take you on a little journey through my woods to show you some trees and how to distinguish them and what their uses are. Shall we begin? What we found here is an American elm tree. The American elm tree is one of the most beautiful and can be one of the most largest trees growing in the woods of New York State. And the leaves of the American elm, as you can see, are simple and alternate. They're double serrated. They have parallel veins, and the leaf itself is actually have a slight sandpaper feel to it, and it has an oblique base. And in mature plants, the back is much lighter green than the front. And the bark of the American elm, as you can see, is grayish in color but has layers of white and brown in between, which is a distinguishing feature of the tree. And the tree's bark is also not glue-like when chewed like in other elms. And the wood of this tree is very sought after. It's very heavy, hard, coarse-grained, very hard to split, and used for a bunch of different things, from veneers to barrels, wheel hubs. It's a very nice tree, but the Dutch elm disease destroyed a lot of the trees, and hopefully they'll be having a comeback here pretty soon. That is the American elm tree. Beautiful. All around all these pine trees, I haven't even told you what good they do. Pine trees, the needles. What you do is you collect all these needles and you put them in a little bunch, and you get some really hot water. You don't boil them in the water to make the tea, but you put them in the water afterwards and it soaks it all out. Because when you boil things, it tends to actually destroy everything good in there that you like. So you can kind of like seep it and get all the vitamin A and C out. And vitamin C in pine needles is 5 times higher than orange juice, so that's incredibly good for you. And it tastes good. You just get hot water and set the needles in there like a tea and then drink it. And that's super good for you. I'll let that sit there and dry, well, so I can use it for fire later. I found a wild apple tree, which really makes me happy. You can see where it is. It's right above the creek. I've never even seen this apple tree here before, probably because it's above the creek and all the apples just fall off into the water. And it got me super excited when I first saw it, because my grandmother used to have an apple orchard, and I was hoping that this was one of the seeds of one of those trees that lived on in the woods. But it doesn't quite look like a domesticated apple tree. Looks like a wild apple tree. And most people would call them crab apples, but I'm not sure crab apple is actually a real thing. Pretty sure crab apple just means a small apple. And most people don't like wild apples because they don't tend to taste as good as the other ones. I know the apples that we usually all eat now, I'm pretty sure it originated from Kazakhstan, over there in the Middle East, and everyone just started eating those apples because they were the best. And these wild apples were the ones that were growing everywhere else around the world. We just put the Kazakhstan ones everywhere. But most people don't like the taste, but you can do a lot of easy stuff to make it taste. Just have a fire and put them next to the fire, roast them for a little bit. I know people who dry these, and they taste super good after they're dried. You could do anything with wild apples, they're just the same. And I actually prefer them, they're really good. I got a lot of poison ivy next to me right here. And I'm doing dangerous stuff, so right underneath my campsite here. I chill under every day. This is a black willow tree. Black willow trees are probably the most distributed trees in New York, willow trees. And the wood for black willows isn't sought after because, as you can see, it forms very multiple trunks, shoots out of trunks pretty close to the ground. It makes cutting it pretty impossible, and the wood's also soft and weak. I'm not even sure what they use it for, not much. Pulp, maybe. And the black willow, the twigs are sort of reddish brown. The great thing about them is if they break off, they could even start growing into a tree. As you can see, sort of got a reddish brown tint.